What if the greatest threat to your peace of mind in retirement isn't your health, but your money? Millions of seniors enter retirement thinking they've done everything right. They've paid off their mortgage, saved consistently, and even have a modest pension or social security check coming in each month. But still, something feels off. The numbers don't add up the way they used to. And worse, some of those numbers are disappearing. Here's the hard truth. Many older adults unknowingly sabotage their financial future with small, avoidable mistakes. Mistakes that may not seem dangerous at first glance, but slowly, over time, they can drain tens of thousands of dollars from your savings. These aren't just bad investments or falling for scams. Some of the most damaging financial missteps come from the best intentions, helping family, trusting the wrong people, or simply holding on to outdated beliefs about money. In this video, we're going to uncover 5 real patterns that are quietly costing retirees their freedom, their comfort, and in some cases, their dignity. These insights come from years of behavioral data, interviews with financial advisors, and the lived experience of thousands of American seniors. We'll meet 2 people, both in their 70s, who made very different choices. One is thriving, the other is quietly drowning in worry, despite having started with the same resources. You'll see what they did differently. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to avoid and what to start doing instead if you want your savings to last longer than you do. So, before we begin, comment number 1 if you're ready. Let's start with something many people overlook: emotional spending, especially when it comes to helping family. For many seniors, money is no longer just about numbers. It becomes deeply tied to love, guilt, and the need to stay connected. Parents want to help, grandparents want to give. And often saying yes feels easier than explaining why no might be wiser. Evelyn Monroe knows this all too well. When her son went through a painful divorce, she didn't hesitate. She pulled $20,000 from her retirement savings to help him find a new place and start over. A year later, her granddaughter needed a car for college. Evelyn stepped in again, another $10,000. In the moment, she felt proud, generous, needed. But no one had the full picture. Evelyn never told them she had cashed out a portion of her annuity early, triggering penalties. She never mentioned that her Social Security check barely covered her living expenses after those gifts. She kept giving because she believed love was measured by sacrifice. Harold Jennings, on the other hand, faced a similar moment years earlier. His daughter needed help during a rough patch. Instead of writing a check, he sat down with her, reviewed her budget, and helped her apply for community support. He offered time, not money. And though it was hard, he reminded her, and himself, that protecting his financial future was also a form of love. Behavioral economists call this financial enabling. It often comes from good intentions, but can lead to long-term damage, not just to your bank account, but to relationships as well. When giving becomes a habit, it quietly turns into dependence, and in many cases, resentment follows. The truth is, real support doesn't always come with a price tag. Sometimes, the most loving thing a parent or grandparent can say is, "I can't afford that right now." Now, moving to the second factor that silently affects longevity and financial peace: the invisible leak of small, recurring expenses. They rarely make headlines. You won't find them listed among the biggest financial risks in retirement. But they're there, quiet, consistent, and unrelenting. Subscription services, monthly memberships, automatic renewals, streaming platforms. and maintenance contracts that once felt useful but have long outlived their value. Evelyn never considered herself a spender. She didn't splurge on luxury items or take expensive trips. But when her granddaughter helped her set up a new tablet, she signed up for 3 video streaming services, a wellness program, an audiobook app. Then came the meal delivery subscription, the meditation app, an online brain training game she used twice. Each one felt small. $9 here, $14 there, $27 for something she swore she'd cancel the next month. But she never did. When her bank statement began showing a pattern of withdrawals adding up to nearly $200 a month, she was shocked. Harold, by contrast, runs what he calls a $10 audit every 90 days. He prints his statement, highlights anything under $20, and asks, "Do I still use this? If not, he cancels it." He knows that in retirement, the question isn't just how much you're spending, but how quietly that spending adds up in the background. The modern financial world thrives on autopay. It counts on people forgetting. Seniors in particular are vulnerable, not because they're careless, but because they've spent decades trusting companies that once honored loyalty. Today, loyalty is a business model, and it's expensive. If you haven't reviewed your small monthly expenses in over 3 months, you might be spending hundreds, maybe even thousands more than you realize. The next pattern that quietly devastates the financial lives of many seniors is one most people are too ashamed to talk about: falling for scams disguised as trust. Not every scam looks like a Nigerian prince or a fake IRS agent. The most dangerous ones look like someone you know, or worse, someone you trust. Evelyn met her so-called advisor at a church luncheon. He wasn't selling anything, at least not at first. He shared stories, offered a free booklet on retirement income strategies, and even quoted scripture. Over time, he became a friendly presence. She started asking him questions. He gave advice that sounded smart, even caring. Then came the pitch, a private investment opportunity that promised to double her money within 2 years. Low risk. Completely safe. Others in the group had already joined in. She withdrew $40,000. She never saw it again. Evelyn never told her family. She felt embarrassed, foolish, betrayed. But what happened to her is far more common than most realize. According to the FBI, seniors lose nearly $3 billion every year to financial scams, and the majority involve someone the victim trusted. Harold, too, has had his share of offers. Free vacation packages, insider real estate deals, even a neighbor once pushing a new cryptocurrency startup. But Harold has one rule: if it's too good to be true, he asks someone impartial, his credit union advisor or a certified planner. And if pressure is involved, the answer is always no. The truth is, seniors are often targeted not because they're gullible, but because they grew up in a world where a handshake meant something, where a neighbor's word held weight. Today, scammers weaponize that trust. But trust without verification is no longer a virtue. It's a liability. Here's the 4th behavior that slowly undermines your health, freedom, and peace of mind: delaying a full financial reassessment after retirement. Retirement is not just a finish line, it's a reset. Your income changes. Your daily routines shift. Your spending habits evolve. But many seniors continue living as if nothing has changed. They keep the same bills, the same service plans, the same house, and often the same spending patterns from when they were earning a full-time income. Evelyn retired at 65 with a strong sense of confidence. She believed she had enough. But she never sat down with a financial advisor. She never adjusted her monthly budget. She kept paying for a top-tier cable package, premium car insurance, and a cell phone plan designed for a traveling executive, not a retired grandmother. She never reviewed her Medicare options or explored ways to optimize her taxes. For the first few years, nothing seemed wrong. But inflation crept in. Her emergency fund dried up after helping family. And one day she realized her nest egg had shrunk much faster than expected. Harold approached retirement differently. 6 months before his final day at work, he scheduled a review with a fiduciary planner. Together they ran projections, created a drawdown plan, and explored which expenses could and should be cut. Harold adjusted early, downsized his internet plan, switched to a more affordable Medicare supplement, even canceled a maintenance contract on an appliance he no longer owned. Because of that, his lifestyle today feels comfortable, not constrained. He lives below his means, not because he has to, but because he planned for this season of life to last. According to a study by the Employee Benefit Research Institute, nearly 40% of retirees spend more than they expected in the first 3 years of retirement, mostly because they never pause to reevaluate. The earlier you adjust, the longer your peace of mind lasts. Up next, the fifth pattern that deserves attention: underestimating the true cost of healthcare and long-term care. Many retirees assume Medicare will cover most medical needs. Some think their current good health is a promise that future care won't be necessary. But the reality is both more complex and more costly. Evelyn thought she was prepared. She had Medicare Part A and B, along with a supplemental plan she chose years ago. But when her arthritis worsened and she needed physical therapy 3 times a week, the copays alone strained her monthly budget. Then came an unexpected infection that required a hospital stay, followed by a rehabilitation facility. Medicare covered part of it, but not all. The rest came from her savings. What hit even harder was the cost of long-term care insurance, which she had declined in her 50s. Now, as she considered the possibility of needing assistance down the road, the premiums were out of reach. Harold took a different route. In his early 60s, he attended a seminar on aging and healthcare planning. He learned that nearly 70% of Americans over age 65 will need some form of long-term care in their lifetime, and that the average cost for a semi-private room in a nursing home exceeds $90,000 per year. With that in mind, he explored long-term care coverage early. He chose a hybrid plan that combined life insurance with care benefits, locking in a rate he could afford. He also set aside a separate fund specifically for out-of-pocket medical costs. When a recent cataract surgery wasn't fully covered, he paid for it calmly, without touching his emergency fund or cutting groceries. Health is unpredictable, but the costs surrounding it are not. They can be forecasted, they can be planned for, and they must be. The difference between staying independent and becoming financially dependent often comes down to how seriously we take this one area. As we move forward, there's a sixth pattern that silently drains the finances of many seniors, holding on to real estate that no longer serves their lives. A home can be a haven, a place of memories, security, and identity. But as we age, that same home can quietly become a financial burden. Roof repairs, property taxes, insurance premiums, lawn care, heating costs, and the endless list of upkeep for space that often goes unused. Evelyn still lives in the same 4-bedroom house she and her late husband bought 30 years ago. It once rang with laughter and family dinners. Today, 2 of the rooms sit untouched. The stairs have become a struggle. She pays nearly $6,000 a year in property taxes alone. The last plumbing issue cost over $2,000, and the heating bill each winter leaves her anxious. She tells herself it's worth it to stay in the home she loves. But the truth is, the home is now taking more than it gives. Harold made a hard choice when he turned 70. He sold the house where he raised his children, a modest 3-bedroom in a suburban neighborhood. With the proceeds, he bought a smaller, energy-efficient home closer to town. It has no stairs. The yard is manageable. His utility bills are half what they used to be. And he walks to the market and the library, saving on gas and car maintenance. It wasn't an emotional decision, it was a practical one. He knew that downsizing early gave him control. Waiting too long might have forced his hand. Real estate is often the largest asset seniors hold, but it can also be the greatest source of financial stress, especially when health changes make it harder to maintain. Selling, renting, or relocating doesn't mean giving up. It means taking charge. Finally, there's one last habit that might surprise you: navigating retirement without objective, ongoing financial guidance. Too often, seniors rely on outdated advice, the well-meaning opinions of adult children, or their own instincts developed in a world that no longer exists. The financial landscape has shifted dramatically in the past 2 decades, and without professional guidance, it's easy to miss critical changes. Evelyn trusted her instincts. She had always managed her own accounts, paid her bills on time, and read the financial section of the newspaper. But she never worked with a fiduciary advisor. She leaned on advice from friends, occasional seminars, and tips from her son. And while some of it was helpful, much of it was generalized, or worse, based on someone else's reality. When she needed to draw from her investments, she withdrew in large chunks, triggering unexpected taxes. When markets dipped, she panicked and sold. No one had built a strategy with her. She was reacting, not planning. Harold, on the other hand, meets once a year with an independent financial advisor, not someone selling a product, not someone with a commission. Just a licensed, fee-only planner who helps him adjust to changes in laws, markets, and personal needs. They run simulations, talk about goals, review Medicare updates, even check his estate documents. The result? Harold feels clear, in control. He doesn't worry when the stock market swings, because his plan accounts for it. He knows where his money is, what it's doing, and what he needs it to do next year. A report by the Vanguard Group found that working with a financial advisor can add the equivalent of over 3% in net returns annually, not through picking stocks, but through behavioral coaching, tax efficiency, and smart withdrawal strategies. In retirement, clarity is everything, and clarity comes from guidance, not guesswork. So what separates financial freedom from quiet desperation in retirement? It's not luck, it's not inheritance, and it's not some magical investment tip whispered behind closed doors. It's awareness, it's discipline, and above all, it's the courage to make difficult decisions before they become urgent ones. We followed the lives of Harold and Evelyn, 2 people who started with similar resources but ended in vastly different places. Not because one was smarter or more successful, but because one asked the hard questions early, while the other waited too long. Harold made time to reassess his financial path. He questioned his expenses, sought unbiased advice. He chose simplicity over sentiment when it came to his home. He prepared for the realities of aging, rather than denying them. Evelyn, with her soft heart and generous spirit, made decisions from love, but without a clear plan. And like so many others, she learned too late that emotional spending, inattention to detail, and misplaced trust can quietly unravel years of effort. But this is not about regret, it's about recognition. Because if you're watching this now, there's still time. Time to audit your expenses. Time to say no without guilt. Time to reevaluate your home, your healthcare, your habits. Time to get real advice, not from a friend or a commercial, but from someone who sees your full picture. Retirement is not the end of your story. It's a new chapter, one where your health, your independence, and your joy are tied more closely to your financial clarity than ever before. You deserve a life free of worry, a life where your money works for you, not the other way around. So if something in this video made you stop and think, good, that's where change begins. Comment below with your thoughts. Share your experiences. Let others know they're not alone. Like this video so it reaches more people who need it. Subscribe for more insights on how to protect your health, your heart, and your future. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment that could make all the difference. You're not too late. You're right on time.